So what's that? All right, welcome folks. Could I have you please stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll get started with any deletions or additions to the agenda.
We're gonna make an addition, we're gonna put an executive session right at the beginning of new business to discuss personnel.
And then Sharon.
I would make a motion to have the executive session.
I will second that. Any discussion on that?
So we can delete your.
Right, oh, it'll be. Any questions or comments on adding in the executive session? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? All right, moving on. Go to number 3, the approval of the agenda with additional bills.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Comments, questions, discussion? All those in favor of approval of the agenda with the additional bills, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No? All right, on to good things happening.
Can we jump to the Peak High School? please?
Yep.
Hey, Mr. Sandlin, you wanna come up for Peak High School graduation?
Do you want to come up? It's right here. Well, Jenny Pena.
Oh,
Mrs. Sis, Mrs. Leathers, would you like to say anything before I go into my part?
I'm not sure I can.
So she's persevered and coming out like sunshine on the other side.
She's worked very hard for this moment, and we are all very proud of her.
Jenny, you've got lots of friends and family here tonight to support you, and I know that there's been a lot of people along the way to support you to get to this point, so, are you ready? Superintendent Weigel, members of the Platte County School District No. 1 Board of Trustees, Jennifer Pena has met the requirements set forth by the state of Wyoming and by your district policy for graduation. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
That's all right, that's all right.
That was more you think. Usually it's fine. Alright. That's it, congratulations, Joe.
Can I give a big speech?
You sure can.
All right, now I'm not really good at
speeches or speaking in front of a bunch of people, but there is a lot of people in this room that I invited personally that has made my life a lot better with just them being kind and just making me laugh and smile every day they can whenever I see them. And so this poem is dedicated to those people because I can only write poems.
My mom.
But yeah, like I said, this poem is for those who have made my life a little better. Life is hell, but you made it better. It sucks to go through a day or two without feeling good about myself. But when I finally got to talk to you for even just a moment, I felt great about my wealth. When I sat in silence, my mind heavy with thoughts, you'd ask me what's wrong. I would tell you nothing, I'm fine, as I yawned. I was never actually fine, but knowing that you noticed and asked made me feel better despite the mask. Life is hell, but you made it better. Not only would you sit there and listen to me complain and whine, you would drain the water from my eyes and say it's gonna be all right. And when I sank too deep, you would pull me out and hold me tight. Life is hell, but you made it better. I never told you every thought I had in mind. I never told you how many restless nights I've cried. But knowing that you were there to say hi to talk to joke with, to laugh with, and to cry, made me feel like everything was gonna be all right. Because life is hell, but you made it better.
I knew that.
Alrighty. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's too much people in here that drink. Let's go.
Stop that.
Hi, baby.
Thanks. Still on.
I did it.
You want to maybe go over like to the peak sign and try to take a picture?
Pictures.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone.
Thanks for coming, what a beautiful, congratulations.
We can do whatever.
Yeah.
Alright, that is so cool. Okay, we'll move on to item 4. No correspondence, except I will point out that the board does have invitations to the Glendale preschool graduation and visitor comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
You missed it.
claims with additional bills? All those in favor to approve the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? Right, we'll move into informational items. Mr. Weigel.
So we'll start out with our science curriculum revisions. Mr. John Stanley has kind of facilitated that process. We agreed that the standards were there was some reduction in the standards. That's what they were looking at. In terms of some of the curriculum work that's key.
I believe you guys have the link. Do they have the link to the document that looks like this?
It's on the agenda.
So what we have is, we had the State Board of Education really wanted to push to reduce the number of standards. So this work began a couple years ago. They requested that districts submit their priority standards, which we had spent a lot of time on, identifying standards that we felt we were gonna prioritize as a district. So they asked for all that information, so we sent that in for all content areas. And so what you're gonna start seeing now is those reduced sets of standards coming out in the state reviews, so.
Hey Josh, if you go down to the action items, you will see that link for science.
Okay.
And so what we're doing now is, starting with math and science, making sure that what we have in our curriculum, that we have those reduced number of standards in there. That doesn't mean that we can't hit other standards, but we definitely wanna make sure that those reduced standards are in there. And so this document, this is what I was working on with Mrs. Amundson to go through each of our curriculum maps, K-5 and through the secondary levels to make sure that those were in there. I've got information from 3-5, with their updated maps that have these identified in there, and then working with Mr. Schaffner to make sure that we have the K2 standards identified and in a curriculum map somewhere. And the difference is for K2 is that we have to address it as content. So kids have to be aware of the standard, but they're not assessed on the standard at the K2 level. So that's where some of our things are embedded in either some of the reading stuff that we do, maybe it's in social studies somewhere, but something that we hopefully already do that these things are embedded in. And so what we'll do is we'll go back and we'll make sure that on our web page, there's a couple dead links on there right now, so after tonight, those will all be updated, and we'll make sure that we know K2, where we don't necessarily have a curriculum map for science, we note where, okay, we're gonna touch this life science standard when we read this book or whatever it may be for that grade level, and tied to the literacy piece. And so those will all be updated and identified on the webpage, but that's kind of what we're working through. And you can see the work that we've done, I don't know if yours was highlighted, it should be highlighted in color. But just working to make sure that those standards are in our curriculum maps.
I thought they were just gonna skim off the top, like some of the advanced sciences not required, but no, it trickles all the way down.
Yeah, it does. So everything from grade 3 all the way through high school, those standards are content and performance, so which means they're assessed. So they filtered all the way through.
And can you tell us what the yellow highlight is, or is it?
That was just my coding system.
Okay, alright,
So,
fair enough,
which page are you on?
that's alright.
Yeah, so like this one, I was just making sure, like this is a middle school, these are middle school standards. So I was just going, yellow was one grade level, pink was another, blue was another. Just making sure that I had them all color coded to make sure I knew that they were there.
Any other questions for Josh?
Maybe I heard it wrong, you said lower the standards?
I didn't say no, not lower the standards.
Reduction of the standards.
Reduction of the total number of standards. I don't remember what the number was for science, but it was a big number, and we've reduced those numbers down to, basically what they've done is taken all the information from the school districts, everybody that had different standards prioritized, they took that data and said, okay, what were the commonalities across districts, and tried to reduce the number of standards that the state recognizes that we're gonna teach. So,
And be assessed at the state.
and assess, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so not lower the standard, reduce the standards, but they're still assessed.
For a simple-minded guy, there's not much difference between reducing
Not in
something
my mind
and
either.
lowering, I mean, and maybe there is, and
So
you guys
basically what we're
mind.
talking about, Shane, do you remember how many in math? There was like 150 math standards, and they reduced it to, you remember the number? Like, high school's like 38.
So we're not reducing what we're educating,
No.
okay, that answers my question.
Just
We're
what-
teaching to a high level, but we're not trying to hit 150 standards. There's no way we can do a good job doing that.
Okay.
With 38 at the high school level, we can hit that
Okay,
through algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Okay, I don't have a problem.
Thanks, Josh. And next, we'll talk about the math curriculum revisions with Mr. Shane Schaffner.
You don't have to find any links, guys, I went old school here.
Good job. We're us old guys, that's old school works.
Absolutely. Okay, in the math, we basically are following the same timeline as the science. And there in this document, or this year, is the culmination of our second year of work on the math committee, which Chairman Mays, she's joined us in some of our meetings. Mrs. Harlan's here, representing the high school as well. She's done a great job helping all the way through last year. So last year we went through and we started with the curriculum we currently had. We reviewed it K through 12, and then we reviewed basically three other companies. And through that process, we ended up getting Envision Math K through 12. So our committee at the end of that adopted it. You guys approved that about this time last year. We purchased it, and then we've been implementing it this year. And so as we've got it in this year, we've got the new Wyoming Content Performance Standards, similar to the science, so it's the reduced standards in math. One of the few differences is K through 12, you do have to not only teach it, but you have to assess it to make sure that your kids are learning the content there. So that's one difference there. And then we've been going through all of our curriculum maps, K-12, and then making sure that what we're teaching lines up with the new content standards. So for us, we've got to drop out a few things that used to be priorities, and in some grade levels, add in a standard or two that we previously didn't prioritize. So that, in addition to going through a new Envisions program, is it's been interesting. So we've got to find out, like, well, the old divisions used to have this unit, but the new one doesn't. So how are we going to teach it? How are we going to assess it? So those are things we've been working through. And I think this year has been very successful. We met, I think 2 months ago as a team again, and reviewed where we were K-12 in our mapping the curriculum, our assessments updates, how well we were doing there. So K through 5, our assessments, basically a lot of them we just build ourselves in there, and we call them our common formative assessments in there. And then, for instance, like at Libby, those run through like a 9-week cycle. So we're gonna teach and assess, and at the end of the first quarter, we'll know where they are in numbers and operations, for instance. And then we're gonna keep hitting those because it's a major standard at that area. And we'll assess them again at the second quarter and see how they progressed. And by the end of the fourth quarter, we'll get like our final grade on on it, so we'll hope that all of our kids are proficient in number and operations. Cause it's kind of one of those things, I call it a focal point in math, run all the way through third grade, numbers and operations. They be able to add or subtract within 1,000 by the end of there, so. That's a big one for us, it's a little different at the secondary level. They do their assessments like through the program, the Envisions program, and is it pair assessment, is that right?
Yeah, we use pair.
As well, so they do theirs a little different, but then they're all tied back to the standards as well.
I have a question. When you say assess, do you mean assess the new curriculum, the kids, or the teaching? Or all of it?
We're assessing the student's knowledge of
Of
the
the- okay.
curriculum,
I'm just
the
making-
instruction that we get.
Okay,
If you look at the K2, it is a little bit of a change, it's more targeted, so you have information like what all students should be able to do by the end of the first 9 weeks, right, for all those different grades, so it's a little more specific, it's a little more focused. That is a change in maybe the curriculum as from before. I worked with Shane a little bit early on and kind of showed some examples of that, but I do think it's really focuses what you want kids to be able to do at what time and really zoom in on that. Instead of wait till the end of the year, let's say, to see if they know standards, you're looking at progressing through quarter to quarter to quarter. So it's just a little more specific. I'm really interested to see how that works for Libby.
Yeah, so that ties in, we started the year with our PLC district-wide goals, so that's how we did it at Libby, to make sure that we're trying to make sure that what we taught today, kids know, like tomorrow, we're not gonna wait till the end of the year to make sure they get it.
So
Right, coming right back and reteaching at the level they need in there. Through our work too, we went through some grading policy things, K5, we updated, we had some grade levels had 70% was proficient, some had 80%, and we just went across the board 80% proficiency. For all grading, which were standard-based grading, which we probably don't wanna get into all that. And then still traditional, at the secondary level, they give out Carnegie units in there as well. And then last year, we'd also approved our supplemental materials, we use like Freckle Math, K2, and then we use IXL and Splash Math, K through 12, across the district there. And then 9-12 use that pair assessment tool as well. And then the last time we met, as a math committee, we decided that we didn't need any further professional development on the Envisions. I think we had 4 sessions this year, 2 at the elementary level and 2 at the high school. And at the elementary, it wasn't a whole lot different, but we were in Envisions before, so we were pretty familiar with the format.
I think the nice part is being K-12 because sometimes you use different programs, you have different, focus areas and different pacing, so having a K-12 program was really, I think, what the teachers and the committee wanted to go with, so that was why it was purchased last year, just to be consistent from grade to grade, so good, school to school.
do we have any curriculum where the tools will actually use AI to generate specific work for that student? You know what I'm saying? I know that that's in the future, that could really help individually.
Yeah, so at the beginning of the year, we're gonna provide some PLC follow-up from training from last year, the professional learning committees. And we also just have in place some AI training for all of our teachers. We'll do elementary first, then we'll do secondary next, or however that works out.
Yeah.
So we'll do a PLC for half a day and AI, the next part, to really enhance the knowledge of our teaching and how we can individualize different curriculum, different activities, because it's pretty powerful,
It is.
but it's still pretty new.
Yeah.
We see that as a way to cheat instead of a way to really leverage that as a learning tool.
Yep.
And a teaching tool. And they're predicting 2 years from now, you won't have any curriculum adoptions because you're gonna make your own with AI, based off the Wyoming standards.
Yeah.
Heard that too. Yeah.
And I hope we don't have a teacher shortage, but it could help if we do.
So Shane, question, and this I guess goes with Josh, your stuff too with science, how does the reduction of standards affect ACT prep? Does that help it because you get more time to push kids in certain areas for that? Or does it even play a factor in that? You know, I don't know where we sit at with ACT, I don't know, I know it's still a recognition tool for colleges, but how does that reduction in the math standards or changes in that, does that affect ACT prep, or does it do anything with that? Does it even matter with that? I mean, I'm not saying that we need
That's a
to
good
add stuff
question.
in there for that, but I mean, how does that affect it? Or does it?
So WDE will tell you that the Y-top scores from sophomore year they can, whatever algorithm they use, can connect it to ACT for their models. I don't know, do you wanna give any specific examples, Leslie, about maybe math?
Just, this was my first year using this new curriculum, so it was a big learning year and curve for me. But what I can tell you having in my classroom is that, the reduction in standards is gonna help a lot when it comes to the timing of the tests, because we're taking state assessments mid-April. We're not done teaching in mid-April.
Right.
So that was always a big issue. It was always like, well, I have another month and a half. Why won't you let me teach it first. So the reduction in standards is very helpful in that sense, that when we get to that piece. And then I was able to teach the entire curriculum for my courses. So I taught beyond the standards this year. And so that they are exposed to extra information that they didn't necessarily have to have, but I was able to hit that after those state assessments. And so when a sophomore got the extra, next year when they go into ACT, they will have a greater base of knowledge. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So just because we're reducing the standard doesn't mean we're necessarily reducing the teaching. It means that when it comes to that time frame of being able to, this is what I have to have them know before they're tested, I can get that in now. Then after that, then I get to do the extra stuff.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
It makes full sense to me, I mean, I appreciate that, because if you can make something, master it with more time.
Yeah, so I was
It's
able
way better anyway.
to
Yeah.
not stress about not getting something in before the test. And then being exposed to a question on the test they had not learned anything about, and instead was able to hit stuff after the fact, as an extra piece and not worry about it, basically.
So I hear you saying you feel it's better and easier to prepare them.
Yes, and although, I mean, I say that this year they did not reduce the standards on this year's website.
Okay.
So it actually goes into effect next year.
Okay.
So next year it'll be even better. We're still kind of cramming a little bit this year, because it's just hard to get a year's of information taught in not a year, so, but it will be even better next year, because I'll really be able to focus on what needs to be taught prior to those, and then hit all the other stuff after.
Sounds good, thanks. Any other questions? Thank you. Next, we'll have Mr. Toll kind of go through our facility priority list.
How many pages do you have?
I shortly did. School board, superintendent, thanks for letting me share. You guys should all, I think, have a copy of that. What I got going on this list is, on the top of it, you'll see working list. This list is never going to be something that we can hold 100% right to, just because all it takes is one system to go down, something to change, something. And so this is kind of my 5-year assessment, going with the state and everything else, looking across the district at the major issues we have, and then trying to prioritize how all that falls into, that getting fixed and what takes priority over everything else. And so it's always changing, kind of month to month, just because. And on this list, I mean, last month we kind of covered a lot of what we're spending every year for every month. We spend roughly $50,000 a month on the things we really don't have any choice in, from valves to just those random things that we just have to fix. So This list is more of those things that we kind of have some say in when we fix it, how we fix it, some of the different updates and that kind of stuff. And so the first page on that list, I don't know how much time you want me to spend going through all of this. The first is all the projects that from start of last summer to right now we finished, and I'll just kind of from the weight room HVAC, weight room remodel, the Libby HVAC system, the high school library building HVAC, Wheaton Middle School roof, scoreboard at the middle school, the greenhouse build, the welding trailer, all electrical, the football field at the high school, dust collection, and then it just kind of continued on through what we did through the school year. And so all those projects are pretty much all done, wrapped up, everything's moving forward, working. Going into this summer's more where I kind of wanted to spend a little bit of time here just to give you guys what this summer looks like on our major tackles for the summer, which a lot of this we've already talked about, so I'm again not to spend a lot of time unless somebody has actual questions. But this summer's, we're rekeying the whole district, the high school gym bleachers, we're hoping it'll fit in August, but we're not 100% sure on that time frame yet. Wheatland High School, the gym floor refinish with the new graphics and all that. Finishing up the updates on the sprinklers on the football field, updating the football field crow's nest. We're still working on the Glendo HVAC system up there, just trying to figure out the best on that side. West playground equipment, west safety railing around library steps in the building. Libby swing set, Wheatland High School shot clocks. We're looking at flooring for the Chugwater School, their cafeteria over there. They also need a new air compressor in the HVAC, for the HVAC system. And then working with our Medicis, getting that stuff all updated. And even since you guys got a copy, I've added a couple of things on my list, which is the Glendo dugout. The metal's coming off, so we're replacing that. And so that's this summer, just the major projects we're trying to get done. Again, some of that'll go into the school year a little bit, but going past that, it's really the next 5 years of all those major things. I don't know if you guys had time to look through all this or not, or if you want me to sit here and explain all of it, or if there's any certain questions.
Specifically, I'll ask you, being on that Glendo HVAC mini split update, is that including the boiler unit?
And that's what we're trying to figure out right now. Originally, we were looking at the boiler and doing mini splits. After talking with the engineers and the state, the ideal solution would be to put rooftop units up there and just get rid of all the old everything.
Gotcha.
And the trouble I'm running into with the state, which is also kind of that, dealing with the state always makes it a little more fun. Because we're not changing boiler for boiler, system for system, major maintenance fund says we can't enhance anything or technically change anything. So it's technically, if we're changing boiler for boiler, great. If we're trying to change to a different system, even though it's still a heating system, the state is trying to get that approved. And the trouble we've ran into with the state is we've had a bunch of different representatives for our district, and it just has bounced. We finally, in the last month, got, her name's Karen Moon, super knowledgeable, super great, and she's supposed to be our long-term. So in the last month, we've gotten more done with the state side in the last couple weeks than we have in the last year, working with her. So hopefully going forward, a lot of our projects can start moving a little quicker on the planning side on that. So to answer your question, kind of depends what the state tells us. Ideally,
So if the state gives us the green light, when do we put that out for bid?
if they give me the green light, we're talking with the engineer right now and getting the plan, so technically it would be coming back next month to hopefully allow it to go out to bid. He already did, what the saving grace on that one is, last year when we were doing all the HVAC, Glendo was actually one of them that we were considering last year. So there's already been the design side on the Glendo rooftop units out there. So we've already got that planned, so now it's just making sure the state's fine with using.
Gotcha, and I just singled that one out because obviously I won't beat my dead horse on the bleacher seats, but that dollar amount is real close to the extra we had when that was approved last go around, so that's the only reason I'm harping on this one is if we can have something done before school begins, especially if we're looking at that kind of major impact to the building, how quickly can we get the process rolling? That's where I'm at, you know, cause I look at that one as pretty high priority.
Yeah.
You know, and even Libby's mini splits, that's something we need to try and get done now before school begins.
And that's both those systems, realistically, we've got another couple of years in before all those things. So going into the school year, even if it pushes into the school, like everything, nothing's changed, like everything's still gonna be functioning and working. So are they priority? Yes. Are everything gonna keep, is there still to be heat and everything? Yes. So
Yeah.
Their priority in the fact of let's get it going, but I don't see anything saying they're just gonna stop working.
No, that's fine, I just, whatever we can do to minimize the impact on our kids' learning, or improve the impact of the learning,
Absolutely.
I'm all about, so. But I don't have anything else.
Thank you for putting the major maintenance, district, capital construction, grant, where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do that also to help keep myself in, so.
Sure.
Thanks, sir. Next we have Mr. Mick Cochran gonna come up and talk about a couple fundraising ideas. We met a couple months ago and kind of brainstormed a couple things about equipment needs, the overall budget, and then he had a couple really good ideas, and I said I'd bring them in and share them with the school.
First of all, we're trying to limit the amount that we target the community. We just get hammered all the time with fundraising. Probably our oldest fundraiser is the football fundraiser with the gold cards. There was a time when that money went solely to football, but it also was tied directly to some helmet purchases, some uniform purchases, part of the uniforms when we got them, some weight room updating, but all that's now been absorbed by the school budget. And so there's really not a need for football to occupy all of those funds.
Okay.
So our thought process would be to balance that out amongst all the other sports or / activities, depending on how we decide to break that down. And at the beginning of the year, we would all sell cards one time. We would go around and do the businesses and put them on the card. And have that done ahead of time, obviously. Then all the kids that were involved in a fall activity or even a winter activity would sell those in the fall, we do it once. We try to limit how much our business is gonna hit. Now, could programs do additional fundraisers? I would say, yeah, I mean, you can do it, but it's not gonna be a situation where you go asking for money from a business. If you're gonna do a 50-50 raffle, or if you're gonna sell a Christmas tree, we need to be getting something out of it. So that would kind of be the approach that goes there. So that's one of the big things we're trying to do is get the gold card to encompass all activities or sports. Haven't really made that clear yet on exactly how that would look. The second thing would be, we've talked a lot about concessions, and the entire time I've been in Wheaton, as long as I know, all of the concessions have been tied to Close Up, which I think is fine. They do all of the work. But I thought about working with Close Up and saying, okay, you know what, you're making this X amount of dollars each year, you know what your prices are gonna be, let's elevate those prices 10%, and then we'll send that extra 10% into that same fund that the Gold Card Fund goes into at the end of the year. It wouldn't hurt their program at all, it would just increase the price of what they're serving by 10% to balance it out across the board. That way they're not hurt. And we initially thought, well, maybe we should give it to the activity that's having the event. But then the more I thought about it, I thought, well, it's not really fair because wrestling may only have 2 or 3 home events. Last year we only had 2 home football games. Next year we'll have 6. So I think there would have to be a balance there where it all goes into one fund. And then we'd have to have an internal committee that decided how those funds were distributed. We couldn't just say, well, you get all of this year, it's gonna be kind of on a need basis. And the last thing that we have talked about, everywhere we go, people charge admission to get in. This is a touchy subject because of the way it has to be coded. Whether or not it has to go into a general fund or if that money can be kicked into the activities fund is kind of open for conjecture. You can speculate how some districts are doing it by having it go into some activity money. Some are doing it into the general. Some people don't want to rely on that money to be part of a general budget. So we've got to do some research and figure out the legalities of how that would work. And we're not trying to necessarily impact our local people, having them pay to get in, but more so the out-of-town people. So one thing we talked about was if you hold a gold card, then you get into the games. So.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and because everywhere we play, they're charging. And so that's gonna be something that Jamie and I and we'll have to sit down and figure out if that's even worth it. Because if it goes back into the general, sometimes that's an unpopular thing for everyone. If there's a way you can go into activities and we can make that happen, then it would just be another boost to activity fundraising that doesn't impact all business sellers just getting hammered all the time.
I like that. Is there any reason why I can't go to the activity fund?
I think there's some questions, if it goes into the general fund, does that count as a local revenue? Just like your local taxes, but I think some districts are putting it into their activity with no questions asked, so I think it's a little bit of both. Some go in the general and you have to count for that funding as a local revenue, but some just go directly into activities and that's how they run it. So it's a little bit of both across the state.
Coach, what's your ballpark average for admission fees wherever you guys go?
It's usually like $3 to $5. And then, well, what's the Ronthon to get in?
$45 for the weekend pass, $25 a day, 4-day event. Used to be 3, it's gone to 4 because of the addition of the girls.
What are you gonna do about the east side football stands down the street?
I think we should sell those spots off. You want a 30 by 30 spot, you gotta pay X amount of dollars for it.
I don't know if you can on public street.
Well,
I don't have a problem with the idea at all.
Blackout curtains and
Drop it
sell
when
them.
they pay.
take the
To take the curtain.
Hey, I'm all for it, whatever. You can come sit in the stands with the rest of us, but I'll buy your
Should be
spot.
over there anyway.
Yeah, there's been a million ideas on what to do with that, but nothing's ever really come to fruition. It's always been, wouldn't it be nice to get all the money from all those people, but no one's ever really attacked that. I'm guessing most of them would probably be willing to pay, as long as they still get to sit there.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think
probably
gonna be a
true.
problem.
But you would just come by like a vendor and,
Or you just say, hey, you're gonna park your flatbed here, that's 4 sections of chain link, we have 4 black deals up, those 4 come down, you've got your trailer.
$100 a section, that's
sounds like
$400,
you
there
feel
you
real
go.
about that.
I don't know how that would all work.
Well, just throwing it at you, Nick, I mean, we can figure it out, let's do it.
So the businesses like the cars, though.
I think so. They continue to put themselves on it.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a way that we can really limit them just getting beat to death,
Yeah,
at least
well,
by
I
the high
definitely
school.
like that idea, but they like the car, it should give them business, right?
You think,
You think.
So what your thoughts are, we thought they were really good ideas.
I'll be more for it.
I think, great ideas.
Biggest
Work
one,
out the
figure out the
details.
east side.
yeah, okay, I'll work on that.
Yeah,
Awesome, thank you, sir.
thank you.
Sammy Wilson, do you can sit there if you want to.
There's a lot of camaraderie, it's a party, I think it's a.
I don't have much for you tonight.
I
I
think they should be charged.
spoke a lot at the work session about preliminary budget, so I'm just gonna open it up if you guys have any questions that you may have thought of about the preliminary budget. If not, like I said, we had a lengthy discussion about it the other day, but happy to answer any questions.
Any new updates?
No, unfortunately not.
So I'm just gonna share just a little bit. After talking to Jamie afterwards, it seemed like there was a pretty big deficit we were looking at. We didn't have a lot of, I mean, we have changes, right, reduction, but we found out that they're looking at last year, they're gonna look at this year's ADM to project for next year. But since we're a declining district, we should be looking at the 3-year average. They're not, because the charter school is put with us for ADM and they're growing, right? We're declining and the end result is a positive trend if you put us both together. We feel it's unfair because we should be separate from the charter schools, so I've reached out to some committee members from JAC, reached out to the Wyoming Department of Education leadership. So I think this is similar to when the charter school started and when the kids from our district were going there, they weren't gonna count as a transfer, they're gonna count as just leaving the district, and that causes a financial cliff, right? So we're estimating there's a 20 student difference if we take the 3-year average compared to a look back 1 year and using those numbers. So generating, that's $360,000 at the least, it could be even more that we're losing. So I think we need to lobby a little bit to make sure people understand it's an equity issue. If you take another district, the exact same numbers of us, we should be treated the same, right? They can run their ADM through us and Jamie sends the money there, but then we should look at independently, if the charter school is growing, they should look back because that helps them. If you have a declining enrollment like we do, they should take the 3-year average and that softens the blow a little bit. It gives us time to adjust staffing. So that's kind of why we feel like there's a bigger deficit than normal. And remember, they took away our central office funds that were connected to the charter schools. That's more money going towards a charter school that we don't have. So we're gonna work on that between now and keep going until we get a final answer on that.
That's logical.
That answers my question on the differences at 2027 on your list. Cause I saw where the one budget line, we were running 3.5 mil, and then we dropped 1.9. Was that, did that have something to do with that? It was one of the first columns, Jamie, I'd have to go back and look at it. There was one there where we were running pretty consistent and then there was a major decline on the 3rd year listed. Maybe it's just general funds is what I was looking at, it might have been general funds.
And the prelim?
Yeah, I thought it was in there. I'll catch you afterward, it's not that big of a deal right now.
Yeah.
I noticed that, but I assumed there was a reasoning behind it, but I didn't know if that was why.
So I think it's gonna be our work to kind of lobby and try to see if we can get some movement. If not, we might ask the board to help out, to attend some of those JC meetings, to write letters to our legislators, to the Wyoming Department of Education. Cause it really is unfair to treat us differently because we have a state approved charter school within our boundary.
I agree. And this is new ground, they
It's very
need the feedback.
But there's statutes that support this as them being part of our district, we really are not, but there's statutes that all say you should have the highest number, either 3-year average or last year's number. So they're conflicting, which they have a lot of conflicting statutes with charter schools. So
Lot to work
we're
through.
pushing forward with this, so
Yeah, good,
it'll make a big difference in the overall entitlement payment for us,
good.
so. Anything else for Jamie? Okay, thank you.
Alright, moving on under reports, we've got April Parks and Rec minutes are in here, the PCED minutes are in here, any discussion on any of those? And we'll move on to item B, policy evaluation. So these are just bringing up the policies, no votes on them tonight or anything, this is just informational purposes. Specific, anybody have specific questions on them? Just to let everybody know, the sex designated facility code is a new policy mandated by new legislation. The school volunteer code policy will be a new policy. We did not have one for volunteers. So the new policy will be consistent across the board with our volunteers on getting background checks or things like that. Firearms, there is a what we have in our packet is the model policy from the state. We talked about that at the workshop last week. I'm sure there's more talk to come on that.
So is this first one, number one, the sex designated facilities, is that also a recommended policy, a model policy?
It's a model policy but mandated by legislation, we have
Right.
to have
Okay,
a policy. And it's right from the actual legislation. When I talked to Scott about this, he said if you wanna make any changes, please reference him, because the entire model policy is right on the statute.
okay. But the firearms one is a model.
Model policy that districts don't have to use, is optional, but it is from
Okay,
the
so
Wyoming
it's
School Board
different.
Association, yep.
And then the item for the professional staff salary schedules is direct from IBB.
Yep, so it's evaluation, if IBB is passed as is, then that'll be first reading, we'll make that adjustment.
So on the volunteer one, how are you gonna, there's no reading in there that I could find this. It makes a difference between somebody that comes casually versus somebody that comes all the time. Or on the regular. There's a lot of words in there, but there's no numbers, is my point.
Yeah.
So
I
we're
thought
So
it said,
red,
I thought it said a regular,
consistently
Or
working.
Yeah,
consistent, I thought there was
consistency.
some word in there that
Yeah, on-
indicated regularity.
on the bottom of the model policy in red is what talks about, so volunteers who are consistent in or out of the classroom would be subject to a background check.
So my question is, so if I go and help in a second grade classroom weekly, does that designate as consistent? Or because I go and read at Libby once a month, is that consistent? Or you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that'd be something
I
for
like-
principal.
I like the policy, don't get me wrong, but I think that
Yeah.
it's,
Needs more definition.
We can get more different, or is that person ever gonna be around kids without an adult present, that
Yeah.
might change a little bit. We just don't wanna make every parent who wants a volunteer to go on a field trip has to do a background check, then it takes 3 weeks to get back anyway, so
Yeah.
parents are gonna volunteer a month before the trip, that doesn't make sense to us. But we do have to make sure that when you have community members around our kids, that there's no issues, right, with students.
So
yeah, and that's
you're
why I said,
thinking,
I'm not disagreeing, I'm
Yes.
just,
so you're thinking the approach might be if they are going to be alone with the kids.
That's one that makes it a little more concerning to me,
Yeah,
but they shouldn't be alone too often, you know what I mean, but
yeah,
I think
Well,
consistency needs to
for-
be once a week, we just have to say what's being consistent.
yeah.
Is it once a week? If you're once a week, you need to do a background check. Is it once a month? Is that gonna make sure that they have a background check? I'd say if it's every month sometime or consistent throughout the year, that's consistent.
The danger you get in, pretty soon everybody says, well, it's once a month and we don't pay attention, and all of a sudden it's once a week, and so it becomes a bigger issue because of that background check, I think is important,
Yeah.
just from everything that we deal with.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with Clay going on a field trip and running no background check or anything like that, but I think if you're doing it on a regular, consistent basis, whether it's once a week, once a month, we have a background check and
And right now, we don't have that.
Right,
policy.
I think it's a
So,
good.
yep, we can tighten that up for the first reading.
Yeah, I was gonna say, these will come next month,
Mhm.
right, for first reading, and we can. Alright, on to board reports. Committees here, any board member on committees that has met that wants to discuss anything?
I'm on a couple, but they're all listed on the next page for one thing or another, so they're gonna be talked about.
Okay, alright, so IBB, Mr. Weigel, you wanna share anything with that?
Just completed, I think board members attended that.
Yeah, I think that went really well.
And one little change we did make with that this year, just to kind of remind everybody, last year there was some miscommunication, other people not involved in IBB or our classified staff was kind of left in the dark, so we did have folks that represented a certain group, and so when we made some decisions or we came to kind of the final decision, that was shared out. So you don't have people across the district asking like, what was that, or what happened to
Yeah.
insurance? So we kind of just used a communication tool to have representation, and they kind of shared that out through emails throughout the district. So I think that worked pretty well. So I think that was a nice way to communicate what happened during IBB.
Love it, the communication piece, one of our priorities.
Okay, and so just, the next item is, the chair report for the superintendent evaluation by policy, that must be done in June. And so just to let everybody know, we sent out the surveys last fall, for the October evaluation, we're not gonna be sending out surveys. This time, when we do the superintendent evaluation, but we wanna make sure that staff, administration, parents, anybody, if you have any concerns or good things, whatever, we will gladly take all of your input for our superintendent as we evaluate him in June. Again, by policy, that needs to be done in June and October. So we will be doing that. Anything else? Move on to old business, and seeing that we have none of that, we will go to new business with our first item being going into executive session, so I would take a motion.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
Second that.
And that's for personnel.
For personnel, yes. Okay. All those in favor of going into executive session, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. And the time is 6:56.
The door's open for everybody.
I would entertain the motion to exit executive session.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Time is 7:22. 6:56. All right, on to our action items. First one, personnel.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to approve the personnel hiring, resignation, and terminations.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Irvin. Any comments or questions? Discussion? All those in favor to approve the personnel hiring, resignation, and terminations, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Alright. Item 2. Policy GCBBR.
I'll make a motion to approve policy GCBB, action order, staffing guidelines, extra duty activities.
Thank you, Mr. Becker.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Rubin. Okay. This is the staffing guidelines for extra duty contracts. Any discussion, questions, comments?
One thing to share real quick. There was a question about, on that list, like there's things like speech and debate or speech, and we don't have speech, so we don't know if, when we look at between first read and second read, should we take off some of those that we don't currently have and keep them on our pay scale, but then if we have a need or if something comes up, we'd like to see that approved, we'd bring it back to the board to approve it. So anything on this policy would actually be ones we currently have, because there are several that we don't have, and I don't know if that's confusing or not. But I think Jamie and I she was trying to budget for this, it's really difficult, should she budget for everything on the list, even though some of those programs aren't even in place yet.
I think if we don't have it, let's don't put it on the.
Take it off there, but then keep it on this pay scale, and if someone does, we have that right away, and any new one we'd bring to you guys for approval anyway.
Okay.
That sounds good, so we'll make that change between now and then.
Okay. Any other comments on this policy on the first of 2 readings? Oh, we'll wait just a minute.
Just kind of pause.
Just a second. Okay, remember, so it's not live until it's approved on the second reading, so. And like like to thank the committee and Mr. Salmon for all their hard work on that. And Mick,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're the center of attention. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Sometimes nature calls.
Alright, so item 2, all those in favor to approve policy GCBB-R, staffing guidelines, extra duty activities on the first of 2 readings, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? Okay. Alright, and then we have another policy.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the amendment of policy IGDG-E fundraising request form on first and only reading.
I'll second that.
Thank you, and this was, we have the fundraising request. Basically, this, is including the athletic director's signature only for athletic and activity fundraising. Just to, one more person in that department gets to actually should sign off on it. Right, and since it's a minor change, it's a single reading and it'll be done, so any further questions or discussions? Okay, all those in favor to approve the amendment of policy IGDG-E fundraising request form on first and only reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? On to item 4, policy IIBH.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the policy IIBH personnel electronic devices in second and final reading.
I'll second that.
Okay. Alright, questions, comments?
So I've read through this several times and I keep reading through it. Cell phones I'm not for in classrooms in a lot of senses. I just look at this policy and I don't know how we're gonna enforce some of this. And I think I've brought that up before that we're gonna have some parent blowback on this one. Because if we're gonna ask kids to shut their phones off, which I don't think is in too much to ask. But we're gonna have some parents that when they find out about this or their kid gets hammered because they didn't listen to what they were told to do, there's gonna be some people not happy with this policy. And I don't know how to fix that, I don't know how to change it. I just looking at like the middle school portion, asking to turn their phones off. I don't know how we're gonna police that. You know, I'm sure there'll be classroom rules, there'll be policy handbook things that they'll say if your phone goes off in class, you get a strike, whatever that may be. I know it's there, I just don't know how we're gonna enforce this thing. And I'm not opposed to the cell phone policy, I'm really not, I just don't know how we're gonna do it.
Well, first off, I would say to parents, we have been talking about it for a while and I haven't gotten any conversation. I hear what you're saying, I understand what you're saying.
They'll come out of the woodwork.
Yeah. I think our job is to give the teachers and administrators the tools. I hear what you're saying, but I think they also, I feel like they know how to enforce the laws or the rules. And I've also not had any of them come talk to me about, oh, we need to do this or do that, so, yeah, I agree, it's gonna be a curve.
I'm just throwing it out there, just saying, so.
I can tell you from some other districts that put this in place this year, they were kind of worried about the start of it and how it was gonna be handled, and after the first couple of weeks, it went really smooth, and they were surprised the support they have from the parents, and I think Josh has probably talked to some other principals too, that's kind of what we heard from other people around the state, so it's gotta be, at the very beginning of school, let them know what it is, even before school, broadcast this out. And then they just need to be redirected, that's an expectation, if you can't follow the expectation, it becomes to be insubordination, And it kind of like goes up through the chain, discipline.
Well, and I just spent the weekend with some people from Sheridan, and they implemented a similar policy, and everyone is very pleased, so I think there's some positives to be had.
Yeah.
Might be a change, but change is hard.
It's gonna be a huge
Yeah.
change.
I think it'll be a huge change, but I don't, aside from the AI stuff, I haven't had anybody come and say anything of that sort, but I've had a ton of people come and upset that their kids do all of their work on their computer. That we still don't have textbooks and, you know, the big lined paper and all the pencils and all the things, but, I know the teachers put out like lists, back to school lists or whatever, that you can get some stuff for their classroom. A couple years ago, there was a teacher that had a cell phone pocket or a shoe pocket thing on her list, and I said, "Oh, is this for cell phones?" And she was kind of like, I said, no, like if it is, I'm gonna get this for you. What color do you want? And she was like, "Oh, okay, we're okay then." So I think teachers, a lot of teachers would prefer it.
Yeah.
To go.
I don't know.
I haven't had a
mean,
teacher say.
To me, I just cannot even believe that kids have earbuds in when they're doing lectures and different things. It is just the ultimate dishonor that we have allowed our kids. They need our guidance because we have just allowed them to dishonor. And I am concerned that it's gonna take time to implement, and we don't wanna take time from classrooms and different things. But ultimately, we're gonna win in the end to be able to actually have their attention is just gonna be huge. And I sure hope we see it in our grades.
But change is hard, but we'll get through it. All right, further discussion on the cell phone policy. This is the second and final reading. It will be official if we vote on it tonight, so. Okay. All those in favor to approve policy IIBH, personal electronic devices on second and final reading, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No.
No.
Did you? Okay. I'll just click on that.
You're fine.
Trying to keep us moving, man. Okay. Item 5. Policy GCI, excuse me.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve policy GCI, professional staff assignments and transfers on second and final reading.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on this? All right, no discussion. All those in favor to approve policy GCI, professional staff assignments and transfers on second and final reading, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No.
Ooh, gunshot in the line.
I got confused. Confused myself. All right, item 6.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve facilities needs list.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, questions, comments? What Mr. told about? No further discussion? All those in favor to approve the facility needs list, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Okay, item 7.
I move to accept the preliminary budget presented to the school board on 5/12/2025.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that.
discussion on the preliminary budget?
When's the final one, John? Is it in July?
15th of July, I believe.
14th.
14th.
Monday.
14th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor to accept the preliminary budget presented to the school board on 5/12, please, at the workshop, Wyoming State Statute 164104, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? Okay. On to item 8, district curriculum.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve district curriculum revisions.
Okay, thank you.
second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the curriculum? And this is all of it together, correct? Yes, okay. All right, all those in favor to approve the district curriculum revisions, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? Alright, item 9.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the purchase of 2 buses.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have the specifics in our packet, any discussion? All those in favor to approve the purchase of 2 buses, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? We are moving to item 10.
Madam Chair, go ahead, James.
I move to approve the IDB agreement.
Okay,
I'll second it.
thank you. Any discussion on the IBB agreement? All right, all those in favor to approve the IBB agreement, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? Okay. Alright, now we've got some contracts coming up. Item 11.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve contract with North Platte Physical Therapy.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
It's our activity contract.
Right, you'll notice there's another sped below, so this is specific to the activities. Any discussion?
I do. My question is, it talks about home events, so if you have basketball games and it's both girls and boys basketball, is that one event or is that 2 events or is that 4 events?
Oh, Josh, you know how they calculate that?
I don't
It makes a big difference.
remember how they're,
I think it's the varsity events, if there's home, there is 2 events.
yes,
I think that's how it's
I
calculated.
think it's calculated for each gender.
Just
I think it's 60, is it $60 a game?
70.
Yeah.
70 per event, that's what it talks about. And
So
that's
each-
my question was, does event mean each varsity game or does it mean that night?
I think they're charging for both varsity games.
Each game is an event.
Be the same as
So,
officials,
so it'd
be
be
paid per
2,
event, per game.
I assume. I just wanna make sure that we understand that, so we're not.
so it's $140 a night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, any further discussion on this one?
So you're only paying them for the varsity games, so they're only covering the varsity games?
Nick, do you know how that works?
We usually don't get there until the varsity game.
Yeah.
And it's difficult, cause you'll have, some of the JV and the freshman games are at different gyms and
Right.
they just
Right.
supply
Right.
one person, don't they? Is that all
Yeah.
they supply?
And then their office is open still,
Right.
so we just work with EMS, we need medical attention.
According to invoice from this year, they charged by the event, so if they made it to the JV game, they charged us for the JV game. If they make it to the varsity, they charge us.
So they, so one, if it's boys and girls, you could actually get charged 4 events.
I would assume that it would only be 3 just because you can't be at the middle school at the same time. So there's a maximum of 3 events happening at the high school.
So it'd be $210.
Any other discussion? All those in favor to approve the contract with North Platte Physical Therapy for activities, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay. On to item 12.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Brandt Audiology.
Second that.
Alright, any questions, comments, discussion?
I have one question. Mine says page 1 of 4, but I don't have 4 pages on it. On the contract. It says page 1 of 4. And I just have 1 page. I'm assuming it's just, I don't know what else.
I have, Diane, would you? Right, would you have me this last one, please? The contract in
It probably is.
What is that?
Yeah, so what we have is just the
What needs
page.
signature?
Oh, okay, mine just says page 1 of 4 is my concern. Does it say it on yours?
It does.
So what's up, how many pages would be, Sharon, do you know?
Who's got it?
Oh, the original?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Could have been modified from the previous year.
Okay, so this is that actual contract, if you wanna see it, and.
How many of those tests do we do a year? I'm just curious.
So it depends from each year, so first we do a screening, our speech and language pathologist does screening, and then from there, that flags kids that come in. Some parents don't approve, they don't sign off consent. So sometimes we've had like a full day of them, that's how I can look at it, or a half day.
Okay.
When Ruby, she comes up from Cheyenne and does that. And that's the full, they bring the box in here, they do the full, you know, that's what that contract's.
Thank you.
Because, no, I'm seeing this one. Alright,
Jamie, do you know how much we budget for that? Do you have a separate line item? You don't have to dig into it, just,
For Brandt, I don't have it as a separate line item for them, no. They're just a contracted services.
Is that reimbursed?
I want to say it's through the grant, Jamie.
You can choose a grant.
I think I paid for it through the grant if I remember right. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure I paid that through the grant.
okay, further discussion? Audiology. Okay, all those in favor to approve the contract with Brandt Audiology, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, item 13.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the contract for Platte Physical Therapy.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Any comments? Okay. Item 13, so all of those in favor to approve the contract with North Platte Physical Therapy for SPED, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Next, item 14.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the contract with Wyoming Child and Family Development.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion on that?
It also says page 140.
They all do.
Yeah, I think when Heather copied these, she just copied the first page and didn't run them all the way through, so make a note of that.
So, this is just diagnostic.
It's our child fine, so through federal law, we have to do child fine for special education, so early childhood does that 1 before 2 screening, and that's what this is, we pay
Oh,
for it. And it's completely out of the grant, we have an early childhood grant that pays probably 3/4 of it, and that's all that grant pays, and then the rest comes out of what I have for grant for the district.
Further discussion?
Are those grants still, I still am worried about,
So mine will be here,
Yours
it's
is-
called 6B grant, it is a SPED grant that's here every year. It's not like the COVID ones that were here.
well, I'm worried about the federal government cutting all
Oh,
those
yeah.
programs. If you read about all that stuff, we're all in limbo, and I'm more worried about that funding being gone.
I don't see the SPED funding going anywhere just because of the way SPED law is written in the federal law.
Pretty protected.
It is very protected.
Yeah, I can see that with our administration right now. But that's a political statement.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it there. All right, any further discussion on this particular contract? All those in favor to approve the contract with Wyoming Child and Family Development, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, we are on to item 15.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the contract with Jones Council.
All right,
I'll second it.
thank you. Discussion?
I'm concerned at the hourly rate, it's $240. And it seems pretty high in my estimation.
Yeah, this is for one specific student connected to one specific incident. If you wanted more with that.
No, I don't,
I pay it straight out of the grant, it does not come out of general fund. This was an IEP team decision, to bring her in, she only sees the one student as on.
So very specialized.
Yes, very specialized in what she's addressing with that student.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor to approve the contract with Jones Counseling, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, item 16.
I'll make a motion to approve contract with Navigating by Touch LLC.
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor to approve the contract with Navigating by Touch LLC, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Item 17.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the contract with Instructional Intensity, Inc.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion on this one? All those in favor to approve the contract with Instructional Intensity Inc., please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Okay, item 18.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Therapids Incorporated.
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion. All those in favor to approve the contract with TheraPeds Incorporated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Item 19.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the contract with Elizabeth Mays, is that her name?
Macy.
Macy.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion. Right, all those in favor to approve the contract with Elizabeth Macy, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Item 20.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the contract with Speech and Health LLC.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion on this one? Discussion. All those in favor to approve the contract with Speech and Health LLC, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Item 21.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Desiree Rivera.
I'll second
Thank you. All right, discussion? Okay, all those in favor to approve the contract with Desiree Rivera, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Item 22.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Crimson Heights.
Thank you.
I'll second.
What's this one about?
You have the information in front of you, that's some of the paper of that.
Oh, okay.
It's an
Okay,
addition.
that is this one. All right,
Yeah, it looks like this.
I looked at it. Okay.
Any discussion?
So we're. Oh, no, I don't know. There's no, then. We have no idea how long.
You never do.
Duration.
Yeah, with residential placement, you never know. Sometimes it's as short as 3 months, sometimes I had one who was 5 years.
Right.
So there's no telling, it depends on the student and the family as well, how involved they are.
Where is this located?
Utah.
Utah, okay.
All supported by grant, that's,
This is
Reimbursed
out
through
of the town.
special ed, so it's.
But it is reimbursable.
oh, thank you.
So we upfront it and then it comes back. Alright. Further discussion on item 22. All those in favor to approve the contract with Crimson Heights, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Item 23.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the contract with Right Direction Crisis Intervention.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, discussion on this? All those in favor to approve the contract with Right Direction Crisis Intervention, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Okay. Okay, I think we got through the contracts. Thank you, Mrs. Brown.
Yes.
Item 25, approve the milk bid.
So,
Oh, no,
or
we need.
number 24, I move to approve the governing body waive any irregularities
Sorry.
associated with the timing of the submission and accept the late bid for milk products from James Ames doing business as Gene Davis Distributing for consideration alongside timely submissions.
Thank you, thanks for catching that, I skipped one. Apologize, thank you.
I'll second.
Alright. Discussion on that, we're, so the bid came in a little bit late, so we're waiving that.
That was the only bid.
Alright. So all those in favor of All those in favor to waive the irregularities and accept the late submission of the bid for milk from Jamie Ames, DBA Gene Davis Distributing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Now we'll go to item 25.
I'll make a motion to approve the milk bid for the 2025-2026 school year to Jamie Ames, DBA Gene Davis Distributing.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion, we have the bid in our packet, or it was actually a hard copy we got. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor to approve the milk bid for the 2025-2026 school year to Jamie Ames, DBA Gene Davis Distributing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Alright. Okay. We will go to 26, Mrs. Hoffman.
I will move to move into executive session to receive information classified as confidential by law, reference state statute 1-12-101, attorney-client privilege.
I'll second that.
All those in favor to move to executive session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Time is 7:56.
Take a short break.
Yep, yep.
Texan Scott.
Okay, we'll start.